Picture this. Your child is in full meltdown, screaming, throwing, maybe hitting. Maybe the behavior is directed at their sibling. Maybe they are shouting, "I hate you, go away," or even trying to hurt them physically. And their sibling, your other child, is standing there frozen, watching, terrified. Maybe they are crying too. Maybe they are covering their ears. Maybe they are shouting, "Stop it!" And in that moment, your brain splits in two. Because who do you go to first? The child who's exploding or the child who's watching it happen? Most parents instinctively rush toward meltdown. They try to calm it, contain it, stop it from getting worse. Meanwhile, the other child gets, "It's okay, honey, just go upstairs, ignore it." And I understand why. But here's what most parents have never been told. In that moment, there are actually two nervous systems in crisis. And if you respond to the wrong one first, you can accidentally make both children less safe. Today, I'm going to show you who to prioritize first during a meltdown. Why siblings in neurodivergent homes often become hypervigilant, and the one conversation that can reduce future explosions dramatically. Because once you understand what is actually happening between siblings during those moments, you start parenting the whole system differently. Hi, I'm Izabela Doyle, a neurodivergent family coach, and I help parents of explosive kids bring calm back to their home. So if that's you, make sure you subscribe because I share videos like this every week. So let's reframe what's actually happening during a sibling meltdown moment. Your neurodivergent child is not sitting there calmly choosing to scare their siblings. Their nervous system has lost access to rational thought. Language drops, flexibility disappears, empathy goes offline. This is no thinking brain anymore. This is survival mode. But here's the part many parents miss. The sibling watching, their nervous system is reacting too. I've worked with siblings who hide when voices get loud, constantly scan the house for tension, panic when plans change, become extremely controlling, or try to become the easy child because they don't want to add any more stress. One little boy told his mom, "I always know when it's going to happen before it happens." That's hypervigilance, no drama, not attention seeking. A nervous system learning to stay on alert. And over time, siblings can quietly start organizing themselves around avoiding the next explosion. Not because anybody failed them, because living around unpredictability changes children. So now you have two distressed children, one loud, one quiet, one exploding, one absorbing. And you are standing in the middle trying to hold both. So who do you prioritize first? You go to the sibling first. Not for a long conversation, not to process emotions, just to create safety. Because in the peak of a meltdown, your dysregulated child usually cannot receive co-regulation yet. And this is where parents get trapped. They move closer, they talk more, explain more, touch more. But overloaded nervous system often experience all of that as more input, more pressure, more stimulation, more threat. Meanwhile, the siblings standing there watching, they can still receive you. So your first job is protect, reduce input, stabilize the environment. That might look like calmly moving the sibling out of the room, lowering noise, reducing audience, creating physical space. Not because this regulated child matters less. but because the sibling is the child who can actually use your support in that exact moment. And here is something parents rarely realize. The audience effect matters. Many neurodivergent children escalate harder when they feel watched, especially by siblings, especially if shame enters the room. A terrified sibling, a shouting sibling, a sibling staring at them. All of that increases nervous system threat. So removing the sibling is not abandonment. It is nervous system protection for both children. This is where many parents freeze, because once you move the sibling out, what do you actually say? What siblings need in that moment is surprisingly simple. They need safety, validation, and release from responsibility. For a younger child, your brother's brain got very overwhelmed. That was scary and loud, and you did nothing wrong. Your job is to get to the safe spot, not to fix anything. Then pause and check their body. Does your tummy still feel wobbly? For older children, what just happened was dysregulation, not your fault, and you are allowed to feel angry, upset, or scared, or even relieved right now. That line matters because many siblings feel guilty for resenting the chaos. And for teenager, I know this can feel unfair as well as frightening. Both things can be true. That sentence alone reduces so much hidden shame. And here's what not to say. Just ignore them because they can't. Their nervous system is already reacting, or they can't help it. Even when true, siblings sometimes hear, so your feelings matter less? And please avoid, you are the strong one. That sounds loving, but children often hear, your needs are safer to ignore. And over time, some siblings slowly disappear emotionally inside the family system. Quiet children are not always okay children. Most parents try to stop meltdowns by increasing input. More words, more comforting, more reasoning, more correcting. But during this regulation, many neurodivergent children need the opposite. Less noise, less language, less touch, less social pressure. Your job becomes very simple. Become the calmest nervous system in the room. Not a fixer, not an interrogator, not a lecturer, a lighthouse, steady, predictable, and present. You reduce stimulation, you reduce danger, you stay available. That might sound like, you are safe, I'm here, nothing to do right now. Short, concrete, low demand. So please avoid, why did you do that? Use your words, calm down, look what you did. I don't know what you need. Because the thinking brain is offline. And this is the part matters enormously. You do not repair during the meltdown. Parents often rush into apologies, teaching, consequences, perspective taking. That's too early. Repair happens after nervous system recovery, not during survival mode. And here is what many families discovers once they start looking closely. Those explosions are usually not random. There are patterns underneath them. And siblings dynamics are often one of the biggest hidden triggers in the entire house. Most people think siblings rivalry means fighting over toys, arguing, competition. But in neurodivergent families, it's often much more layered than that. Maybe one child hears, we need to be flexible today, while the other thinks, so the rules changed again. Maybe one sibling has stopped asking for outings because they assume plans will fall apart anyway. Maybe one child feels guilty for needing attention, while the other feels invisible because crises always win. And parents feel trapped in impossible choices constantly. One mom told me, I realized I only spoke to my quiet daughter in instructions. Everything emotional was going towards her brother. That moment hit her hard because it wasn't intentional, it was survival. And this is the part many families never say out loud. Some siblings are grieving the version of family life they imagine they would have. Cancelled outings, interrupted birthday, friends who stop visiting, constant unpredictability. That grief is real. And then there is something else happening underneath all of this. Nervous systems are contagious. Children co-regulate each other constantly. So imagine this. One child escalates, the sibling panics and screams, stop! Or bursts into tears or stares in fear. Or shouts, you're a psycho! Again, understandable. But the dysregulated child's nervous system reads all of that as more threat, more danger, more shame, more activation. And suddenly the whole room escalates together. Not because anybody is bad, because biology is happening faster than logic. And many parents only process the meltdown after with the child who exploded. But they never have the sibling understand what happened, what the role is, and how to protect themselves without escalating the room. That conversation changes everything. But timing matters. You cannot teach nervous system skills during crisis. You teach them before the next one happens. This is where collaborative and proactive solutions becomes incredibly powerful. Not during the explosion, but before it. In a calm moment, you sit with the sibling and say, I've noticed that when your brother or sister gets overwhelmed, it can feel really scary or unfair sometimes. Tell me about that. Then listen, really listen with empathy and understanding. Don't rush to reassure, don't explain it away. This is where many siblings finally realize, oh, somebody sees this too. Then you can explain. When your sibling's brain gets overwhelmed, it's like the alarm system takes over. That doesn't make the behavior okay, but it does explain why reasoning stops working. And then this part is huge. Give them a role. Not help calm them, not be patient, not you know how they are. Their job is go to the safe space. Protect your own nervous system. Get an adult. That's it. Simple, clear, protective. And then explicitly say, you are not responsible for fixing your sibling. Some children need to hear that repeatedly because siblings who become hypermature, overhelpful, or emotionally invisible. And when siblings know what's happening, what to do, and what is not their responsibility, the whole room changes during future incidents. Not perfectly, but noticeably. I want to say something important carefully here. Children who grow up around chronic unpredictability often adapt quietly. One becomes explosive, the other becomes invisible. One child absorbs attention loudly, the other stops asking for things. And parents usually notice the loud distress first, because loud distress is harder to miss. But quiet distress matters just as much. Research shows siblings in high-stress neurodivergent family system can experience anxiety, resentment, hypervigilance, low self-esteem, emotional suppression. And at the same time, many also develop extraordinary empathy and emotional intelligence. But those strengths should grow from support, not survival. And this is the line I want every parent listening to remember. Nobody in this house is allowed to become invisible. Not the dysregulated child, not the sibling, and not you. The goal is not fix the difficult child. The goal is create a safe system for everybody. Because when siblings feel safer, when they feel seen, when responsibility is put back onto adults, the entire nervous system of the home changes. Less fear, less shame, less escalation. Not because anyone becomes perfect, because the whole family stopped carrying it alone. And if your home is increasingly organized around crisis, if safety feels harder to maintain, if siblings are becoming withdrawn, fearful, or constantly on alert, that is not failure. That is information. And sometimes it's the moment to bring in more support. Earlier, not later. You do not need a perfect family. You need a family where nobody disappears emotionally in order for everybody else to cope. And if this video helped you, save it now, because these moments are much harder to think clearly inside.